let's go live. Let's do that. Welcome everyone to our book study group for Monday, the 14th of February. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. John Lavenia here with you. Valentine's Day will not stop me from getting with some of my favorite people on the planet and discussing the philosophy of James Allen out of the book, 8 Pillars of Prosperity, which I am thoroughly enjoying. Are you guys enjoying this book? This is like some heavy stuff over here. This is really good. Of course, I love reading James Allen just because I feel like my IQ goes up every time I read James Allen and I grab a dictionary to make sure I get the full intellectual and usable understanding of every single word. So good to see Catherine's here. Bob, I guess Missy's somewhere around there. All I can see is Bob. Janet's here. Scott. And I'm sure some other people will be tuning in. Lindsay may not be here. Lindsay's closing a deal right now. So she's doing the sales thing. That is awesome. But we have, we're going to cover 2 pillars tonight. The second and third pillar, economy and integrity. So last week, as you recall, those of you, oh, here comes Lindsay. I guess Lindsay wrapped up that deal. Hey, Lindsay. But last week, as you recall, I intended that we were going to knock out 4, or actually 5 chapters, but there was no way because of the conversation that ensued. So I figured we'll stick on this book for a few weeks. We covered, of course, the introduction to the 8 pillars as well as energy, the first pillar. So now we're into economy. And as is tradition, I'd love to open it up, see if you guys have any burning thoughts on economy. And I've got a bunch of stuff highlighted in this book that I can go to as well. So anybody want to get us started here with the second pillar? No? All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let's take a look at some of the highlights, at least in my mind, for what we just read. So second pillar, economy. A couple things here that, well, first of all, let me just say this. Economy, when I look at the etymology of the word, what is economy? It comes from the idea of management of household resources. I think we mentioned this last week. So the management of resources, that would be the origin of the idea of economy or having an economy or being economic. Okay. So here he goes right to nature. It said that nature, she knows no, I found some mistypes in this PDF. If you guys are on the PDF that I distributed, I got that from Stuart, so blame him. But whoever typed this up, yeah, on is a word. It's just not used in this sense. But it said of nature that she knows no vacuum. She also knows no waste. This is beautiful. It says here, nature destroys every foulness, not by annihilation, but by transmutation. Remember, nothing's created or destroyed. It just moves from this to that. So this is foulness over here. This is not good economy. And so let's transmute it into something else by sweetening and purifying it and making it serve the ends of things beautiful, useful, and good. So this is something nature does. And we could see this, many examples of this, of course, right? You have the tree, let's say, that grows up and it's very old, and then it falls down and it becomes, the fertile ground for the new trees and shrubberies and whatever else, right? So there's cycles to all this, but there's no forcing that needs to be done with this. This is a natural cycle. Okay, so that's one way that I see this actually occurring, just in common life. Catherine and Lindsay, I see your notes, your chats. That's great. He goes on here though with economy, the spiritual economist. I've never heard anybody say that before. Transmutes passions into intelligence, intelligence into principles, principles into wisdom, and wisdom is manifested in actions which are few but of powerful effect. So what did he just describe here? Economy of effort. We can also call that efficiency, right? Now, in another book that we've studied, Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, he talks about if everything you do, each individual action is done efficiently, if it's an efficient action, well, then you must get rich. But if they are not efficient, well, then you must be poor. Okay. And what does he qualify as efficient, right? These are things that are done, what he calls purpose and faith, okay, imbued with purpose and faith, done by a person who has a deep sense of gratitude. We've talked about this before. But this makes your actions efficient, okay? Here, he's talking about passions into intelligence, intelligence into principles, principles into wisdom. What is wisdom? It's applied knowledge. So we're taking all the considerations and the purposes and the faith to be able to do this stuff, and we're distilling that down into wise actions. Wow. And now we don't have to work so damn hard, right? Manifested in actions which are few, but of powerful effect. Sign me up, baby. I want more of that, right? So hence, keep reading. True economy is the middle way. I like this, the middle way in all things. Now, I'm sure Bob has probably got some biblical references that go along these lines. Okay, so that middle way. Or maybe I'm thinking of some of the Buddhist stuff that I've read. Talks about the middle way, whether material or mental, between waste and undue retention. Okay, so whether material or mental, it's the middle way between waste and undue retention. That which is wasted, whether money or mental energy, is rendered powerless. So if I waste something, I render it powerless. That which is selfishly retained and hoarded up is equally powerless. So the middle way is in between those two. To secure power, whether of capital or mentality, there must be concentration. But concentration must be followed by legitimate use. So you see, it's not good enough for us to think in the middle way. We must also execute. We must also demonstrate. The gathering up of money or energy is only a means. The end is use, and it is use only that produces power. So all the talking and intellectualizing in the world doesn't get it done. I was reminded earlier today, for some reason, this book came up in my mind. I was thinking of all the books that we've read together since we started this group. And one of them was The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clayson. And in that book, one of the young people who were seeking to learn the ways of gold came to the moneylender. He knows the ways of gold, right? And he had a box of tokens. You guys remember this? Those of you who've read that book. He had a box of tokens sort of as collateral. When he would lend gold or silver, right? He would take a token, and then when the loan was paid back, he would return that item to the borrower. And there was this one token. It was a bejeweled brooch or something. And he was talking to the youth, and the youth said, "Oh, was this a girlfriend of yours or something?" He's like, "No, you see romance, you suspect romance where there is not. No, this woman is a sad case, but she talked much and said little." Is that one line just went right through me. She talked much, but said little. Not economical. All right, moving on. The best workers and most successful men are they who are most moderate in eating and drinking. Why did I highlight that? Because again, I'm thinking of the middle way. He talks about here the glutton, right? And we could say, the drunkard, the person who excess, right? Not the middle way. And I was reminded when I read this, I was reminded about something Ben Franklin did when reading his biography. Was that while his coworkers were, eating the, large amounts of food at their lunch break and whatever, he would judiciously chew on a loaf of bread so he could stay, fast, not get heavy and slow, right? So that was moderation, right? And certainly when we look at the virtues that he enumerated, Ben Franklin, I'm talking about now, we could see that, that was something that worked its way into a couple of different virtues, like temperance, right? Moving on. An obtrusive display in clothing and jewelry bespeaks a vulgar and empty mind. So when I read that, I was thinking, man, what is up with all these people who are attempting to be so ostentatious? In other words, look at me, look at me. And I get it in the world of social media and of course marketing. There's got to attract attention to yourself to a degree, right? You don't want to be a hermit in a cave. However, what I have found, and I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, you can do whatever you like, but I have found that the more ostentatious someone is being, the less attracted I am to them. Now, maybe that just comes with maturity. Perhaps when I was a youth and seeking success and maybe easily, impressionable and all this, I was impressed with your Ferrari or something, but now I couldn't care less. In fact, you know what? I think in the modern age, and this may just be, again, just my perspective on it, but in the modern age, you need to show what you got. Really? You need to walk around flashing cash or, obtrusive display in clothing and jewelry. Gaudy? Is that smart? Is that even smart? I was thinking about, if you had a Bugatti, everybody know what a Bugatti is, $1 million car. If you had a Bugatti, where would you drive it? I mean, really, where would you drive it? Just a thought. Moving on further, it says here, money wasted can be restored, health wasted can be restored, but time wasted can never be restored. This almost sounds too simple, but what a great reminder. Back to the idea of economy, the middle way, right? Economy of effort, doing wise actions, doing efficient actions. What is it that we're our most precious, asset or commodity, right? Would be time. Man, you don't want to waste that. Another one of Franklin's virtues, lose not time. I think that was all I highlighted in this chapter. Yep, it was. He gives lots of explanations. And also, as he likes to do, the pillar of this, this pillar is built with these components, right? He gives us the components of economy: moderation, efficiency, resourcefulness, originality. Obviously, you guys all read this for yourselves. Hopefully you did. So, but I'm not going to go into all the elucidation of all of that. Who's got some thoughts on the second pillar, economy? Come on out. Quiet group tonight. You guys are probably all like your head spinning from eating too much of the chocolate hearts, little truffles, like shoving that stuff in your mouth, right? You got to be on the middle way there. Practice some economy of chocolate. I cracked myself up. Hey, Bob.
Missy is trying to close the deal. She'll be with us shortly. But I'm just going to reiterate what I said last week. James Allen is about as subtle as a punch in the jaw. And I was tempted to begin highlighting things. I found I was highlighting everything because every word is pure gold. And I like the fact that he is practicing economy in his speech. I mean, this would qualify as prose mainly because there are so many words that are out of current customary use, but he doesn't embellish anything at all. He's as direct can be. So that's pretty much all I really need to say. As what I said last week, there's really nothing that I think can be added by anybody's thought on this. This must be the granddaddy of all self-help books. Certainly everything that we've read since then is in one way or another derivative from it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it definitely was at the forefront, James Allen was, of, I would say, the modern American literary, well, at least in the genre of, psychology and personal development philosophy. I mean, it was 1906 or something when this book was written. And this is my first time through it. But I think what Alan did was take some of Emerson, and then of course a lot of scripture and other things, but put that in a way that the common man could start to put it to use, really grasp it. That to me was huge. And now that I've got this whole, I know I showed you guys the volume that Stuart gave me, is like this huge 700 pages or something. I had no idea Alan wrote that much, right? I had been exposed to As a Man Thinketh and quotes here and there, which is nice. But man, this book is really, really cutting to the core. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Any other thoughts on this? Well, this is the exact opposite of what we did last week, right? We had a whole heated discussion about energy and the 8 pillars. Some great stuff coming out of this. All right, let's go into the third pillar, which is integrity, which I know somebody else really likes that word, wrote a whole book about it. And as Bob just reminded us, there's nothing subtle about what Alan wrote for us here. Integrity. Now, when I look up the word integrity, there's 3 main definitions. One of them is adherence to moral and ethical principles. And my favorite definition of integrity is the state of being whole, undivided, and undiminished. Whole, undivided, undiminished. So as within, so without. Kind of like what you see is what you get, but through and through, right? There's no part of that isn't, right? You think about structural integrity of a building, a house or something, right? So that is solid, that is true, that can stand the weathering and all the other stuff. Well, same with the character of man. It says here, nothing is ever can be gained by fraud. It is but wrested for a time to be again returned with heavy interest. And he goes on with this whole idea of the low integrity person, of the fraud, the criminal, the ripoff person, right? How they pay an even bigger price. And he gets down here into this next paragraph. He says something that I think, again, sounds too obvious, but if we see how if we can inspect for ourselves how we approach life, how other people occur to us as we confront and do business and have relationships with other people. This line right here, human life is reciprocal, not rapacious. Okay, so meaning grabbing and greedy and mine, rapacious. In fact, let's go ahead and look it up right now. Where is my dictionary? Why is this not working? Damn it. It's supposed to work. Oh, 3-finger click. That's why. Rapacious, aggressively greedy or grasping. Right? And you could see here some of the synonyms for that. Predatory, right? Usurious. Nice. Not nice, actually. But human life is reciprocal, not rapacious. And the man who regards all others as his legitimate prey will soon find himself stranded in the desert of ruin, far away from the path of prosperity. Far away from the path of prosperity. Now, on the surface, we may see the unjust recompense, people getting rich by crooked means. And it would be tempting, and it is tempting, to stand in judgment of that. Couple personalities come to mind, mostly in the field of politics and governance. And so I'm thinking, well, this person, they're supposedly doing the public service thing for like their entire career, and they've made hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, it doesn't seem like that well, I mean, it seems to be working. It seems to be working. Maybe all this is wrong. Okay. But here's the rest of the story. The rest of the story is I don't know the rest of the story. And if I did, would I want to trade places with them? Could I sleep with myself at night? And what other demons are in their world? I mean, money is just, what did he say in the previous chapter? This is one piece of the pie. That's not the ends themselves. Okay, it means to ends, but not the ends themselves. So what is it that we're really after here as moral people? He talks a lot about morals in here. And one of the definitions of integrity, right out of the dictionary, is adherence to moral and ethical principles. What are we really after here? We're after having an experience in life that is fulfilling, and that also we can live with ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean that wealth and the creation of abundance and affluence is separate from that. And he goes on. He says here, sterling integrity, tell whatever it is, and stamps its hallmark on all transactions. And it does this because of its wonderful coherence and consistency and its invincible strength. So if this is that strong and invincible, if living with principles renders that in us, then how could we not get rich? How could we not create abundance and prosperity in our lives? And so I think there's been a lot of misinterpretation of scripture and things where people feel like, well, we may not be rich, but at least we're honest. Whoa, 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 whoa. In fact, that's a direct line out of a movie, Spider-Man, where poor old Uncle Frank, right, is talking to, young Peter Parker, right? And they're all broke, but at least we're honest. Oh, man. Oh, watch out. Watch out for that. You know what? That's an easy sell. That's an easy sell. They'll sell you the movie now because you'll go into agreement with that. Yeah, us good, poor people. At least we're honest, right? Let's go pay money to watch the movie now to tell us how good we are. Oh, my goodness. He goes on here. To fail in one point is to fail in all. This sounds like there's that punch in the face that Bob was talking about. To fail in one point is to fail in all. And to admit under stress a compromise with falsehood, howsoever necessary and insignificant it may appear, is to throw down the shield of integrity and to stand exposed to the onslaughts of evil. So you either like the house with the structural integrity, right? I mean, if for the sake of expedience or something, the foundation decided I'm just not going to be the foundation anymore. Well, that's it. You stand exposed to the onslaughts of weather in this case, or, whatever. Okay. But in this case, we're talking about man. We're not talking about a building, but you get the idea. It says here, all these things, right? That people, he's talking about people thinking that you need to be, bad or wrong or have low integrity to be successful. But here's what happens. We become enlightened concerning this moral principle and discover the glad truth that integrity does not lead to loss and suffering, but to gain and joy, that honesty and deprivation are not and cannot be related as cause and effect. You see this? So remember, what is integrity? Honesty, adherence to moral and ethical principles, right? The state of being whole, undivided, and undiminished. That honesty and deprivation, okay, being, lacking and all that limitation kind of stuff, they cannot be related as cause and effect. So the fact that you're honest must not be seen as a weakness. Otherwise, you look amiss, right? You've misunderstood, right? Now, there's other things you can do, and there's more chapters in the book, but building on a solid foundation of integrity, that is not a weakness. Now, one thing that did come up for me when I was reading this was something that Solomon talked about in the Proverbs, and I'm going to paraphrase. But he talked about how integrity could actually be a liability in the way that you would expect others. And he talks about trust here in this chapter, but you would expect others to also. I mean, if Janet tells me this is thus and so, well then, okay, then it's thus and so, right? That's what she said. Why would I doubt that? Well, I mean, if I told something to Janet, well, then that's what it is, right? So, but I have integrity. I don't have any like sinister motivations or agendas, say what it is. So how can that be a weakness? Well, I think it was Ronald Reagan that said, trust but verify. Sounds like a good policy. Okay. So we don't walk around suspicious of everyone. Okay. We expect the best of people. And the idea of it takes one to know one comes up. He talks about that later in the book, where later in the chapter, where, here it is. It's 2 paragraphs down. We'll get to that in just a second. The man so enlightened is protected from all quarters and can no more be undermined by dishonest men than the sun can be pulled down from heaven by madmen. I love that, right? So he's talking about law. He's talking about cause and effect and how that pillar of integrity makes you impervious to what does he say here? The arrows of selfishness and treachery that may be poured upon him will rebound from the strong armor of his integrity and the bright shield of his righteousness, leaving him unharmed and untouched. That's a beautiful promise, right? And something, when you can go into battle, right? You go into your daily life and you're confronted with people who don't share your principles or your ethics. Well, guess what? You could see right through it now. And that stuff can bounce off of you. But here's the thing that I wanted to get to here just before. A lying tradesman. This is great. Remember the saying when we were kids, it takes one to know one. Yeah, it kind of does. Here it comes. A lying tradesman will tell you that no man can thrive and be honest in these days of keen competition. This is 100 years ago, more than that. How can such a man know this, seeing that he has never tried being honest, or tried, again, I'm thinking there's some misspellings here, never tried honesty. How can he know this, seeing that he's never tried honesty? It takes one to know one. Moreover, such a man has no knowledge of honesty, and his statement is therefore a statement of ignorance. And ignorance and falsehood so blind a man that he foolishly imagines all are as ignorant and false as himself. So what Solomon was saying about, oh, you high integrity person, your liability might be that you just assume everybody's like that. Well, guess what? Here's the crook, here's the lying tradesman who assumes everybody's like that. Now we could boil this down to, I think, one word, which is cynicism. Every man for himself, and everyone's only out for themselves, right? So what does that reveal, right? When someone thinks everyone's always only out for themselves, they're out for themselves. And I think this is a common thing in modern society where people have perhaps been, they've succumbed in many cases to, I'm the only one, or I just got to, looking out for number one. It's just me. And after all, everybody else, right? Get what you can get while the getting's good. I mean, that is really sad. Now, of course, it's a generality. Okay. There's plenty of people who benefit, their groups and society in general and all that. That exists as well. But to be able to even see that, you've got to be a person like that. Imagine, what was the I can't remember the name of the Greek. It was a Greek guy who went out during the daytime with a lamp during the daytime, and he was looking for an honest man.
Diogenes.
Diogenes. That's it. You got it, Bob. Diogenes. Yeah.
I'll take ancient Greeks for 1,000, Alex.
Uh-huh. So come again, Bob, you were saying?
I was saying, I'll take ancient Greeks for 1,000,
Oh,
Alex.
very good. Very good. You got it. Diogenes. So he's out there with a lamp during the daytime looking for an honest man. But imagine, walking into the den of thieves as an honest person. Like, they wouldn't recognize you. I mean, you could tell the truth all day long. They're not going to hear it. They think you're trying to cheat them. Takes one to know one. All right. Moving on. Approximate honesty is only another term for dishonesty. There's the punch in the mouth again. Okay. The men who deviated a little from the straight path will deviate more. Guys, I was thinking about this as it relates to decisions I've made in my life. Marriage, for example. Okay. So till death do us part. All right. Better or worse and all this. Right. And not to elaborate too much, but a lot of my wife went through 1.5 years of cancer treatments, and there's all this, we've had our ups and downs, but one decision that I made, and it was made, right, is that I stand by her. Is that a common thing these days? What's the divorce rate these days? Somewhere around 65%. What's the story with that? And look, I'm not here to just be critical or stand in judgment. I'm just saying, for me, I made that decision already. Tell you a little joke. I was down in Texas last week, and I was at this event, and I walked into the restaurant at the hotel because I was hungry, and I walked in, and I wasn't sure if I was in the right place because it wasn't very well marked. It was just like a little cafe. And the woman there, the hostess, she said to me, "Are you looking for a lady?" And I said, "No, actually, thank you. I'm looking for food. I have quite enough ladies in my life. Thank you." Quite enough. Reminds me of another joke about Solomon. Why did Solomon have so many wives? He was hoping that one of them would be in a good mood one day. Moving on, right doing between man and main in the varied relations and transactions of life is the very soul of integrity. Right doing between man and main. It includes, but is more than, honesty. So integrity is more than just honesty. It is the backbone of human society and the support of human institutions. Without it, there would be no trust. There it is. No trust, no confidence between men, and the business world would topple to its fall. Now, let's say that was the case. Let's say there was no trust. And as much as I can be, concerned about, modern times and socioeconomic and political conditions and all this, right? There is still a foundation of trust in society. I go to the store and I buy a product. Well, I trust that the product was manufactured to specification. I go to a restaurant and I eat food. I trust that everyone in that supply chain, up to the point where the food was put on the plate and on my table, did their job. I'm about to put this in my body. Without that trust, none of this would work. We'd be back to every man for himself. Cavemen, eat what you kill, baby. Eat what you kill. Well, fortunately, we do have some semblance of civilization. Okay, so
John,
that's what it's all
does
based on.
Maine mean? John, what does Maine mean?
Well, the main, in the main, what I'm getting, assuming this wasn't another mistype, right doing between man and main, or it could have been man and man, but in the main, like the in society, does that work for you?
I don't know. I'm not really understanding it.
Main. Foremost. Maybe I'm thinking of the mean. The mean, right? Like the
M-A-N?
yeah,
Well,
like the
when I read it, I thought he was using a very archaic term when he was using Maine. If you remember from your history books, the Spanish Main, that was the area where Spain was dominant on the seas. So it's the area in which you operate.
okay.
I think he's using it in that old term. It took me a while to get it, but when I thought of Spanish main, it clicked.
Got it. Well, I'm using it in the sense of in the main. In the main, all right, on the whole, in the main. So that's sort of an idiom. That's how I took it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm going to do? Yeah.
Just the general populace.
Yeah, in the main, in the main. So right doing between man and main. Hold on a second. And Bob may have gotten it. Let's get out the actual printed, the 8 pillars. Let's get out the printed book here and we will corroborate. Energy, economy, integrity. Okay, aligned tradesman. Says here, man, these PDFs, you got to watch out for these free PDFs. Right doing between man and man in the varied relations and transactions of life is the very soul of integrity.
It's a man and
Sorry, guys. Never mind Maine. Never mind that. All right. I'm going to rewrite this friggin' thing when I got some free time and republish it. Well, it's out of copyright, so anybody can come and go ahead and republish it.
We're
So
lacking textual integrity.
yes, there you go. All right. I'll keep the printed text handy just in case we come to any more of that. Says here, the upright man by his very presence commands the morality of those about him, making them better than they were. So the rising tide lifts all ships, that kind of a thing. Men are powerfully influenced by one another, and as good is more powerful than evil, the strong and good man both shames and elevates by his contact the weak and bad. So just by you being a person of integrity, you're beautifying the planet. And thank you. Thank you for that, because I have to live here too. Thank you. Good times. Rectitude. Oh, too bad Missy's not here. Rectitude. Wait, she is there. There she is. So being upright, rectitude, erect. Leads straight to prosperity by 4 successive steps. First, the upright man wins the confidence of others. That's the first part. Second, having gained their confidence, they put trust in him. Third, this trust never being violated produces a good reputation. And fourth, a good reputation spreads further and further and so brings about success. So if we're looking at the word permeate is coming to mind, okay, or proliferate, or in other words, to gain followers, customers, an audience, right? How do you do that? Well, you do that through rectitude, through integrity, right? Confidence, trust, reputation spreads. And so when you think about, people who have become notable in their field, we could see that there it is. I know that this person is competent. I know that company is a good investment. I know that this person can be relied upon. I don't know if Stuart's here. I didn't see him at the beginning, but one of the things that Stuart has acknowledged me for, which doesn't seem like a big deal to me now. Okay, but John, you always show up. You say you're going to be there, you're there. I'm like, well, yeah, of course, right? Well, no, not friggin' of course, not of course. Okay, in my life, yes, of course. And there's rare times when I've faltered, but I used to falter all the time. So I have contrast with that. I know what it's like to not show up. I know what it's like to be late. I know what it's like to have an attendance problem. Okay, but something as simple as that. And I've heard it said that 90% of the game is just showing up. Okay, well, I don't know if that's accurate, but still, well, let's at least show up then, right? So we can be in the game. And that reliability, and I don't know, maybe Lindsay or some other people have some comments about this or about me, right? Just knowing that I do what I say I'm going to do. Yeah, that's Well, it's made me a lot of money, right? Better than just, going with the wind. And, John said it, so who knows what's going to happen, right? Well, if John said it, well, then that's what he said, right? That's that pillar of integrity. I really, really love this. Even in his darkest hour, he finds repose in a clear conscience. So even if you've experienced failures, the fact that you can put your head on the pillow at night and know that you're not screwing people, right? This is good. You're a good person. I'll tell you what, those crooked tradesmen or, politicians or whatever, right? Can they do that? Probably not without a handful of drugs or something. I wouldn't want to trade places with them. The honest man has clear eye and unflinching gaze. This is in the fearlessness part. So these are the 4 pieces of the pillar: honesty, fearlessness, purposefulness, and invincibility. So there's the honesty, and there's the benefit of it. Clear conscience. The honest man has a clear eye and an unflinching gaze. So that sounds like fearless to me. Now, here's the thing, guys. If we're going to solve problems, which is one of the highest functions that a human is capable of, right? So we're here to cause stuff to happen, to have an effect, solving problems, overcoming barriers, reaching goals, right? If we're going to do that, well, the first thing you've got to do when solving any problem, whether it's yours or somebody else's, like in a sales conversation, business transactions, right? The first thing you got to do is be able to confront the problem. Look at it. When I was going through Diesel College, there was one question that showed up. You may be wondering, what the hell does this have to do with personal development, John? Check it out. There was one question that showed up on every examination for every subject. Whether we're talking about hydraulics, we're talking about engines, we're talking about brake systems, air conditioning units. There's one question that is on every examination for everything. What is the first step in diagnosis? And the answer was always the same. So anybody who got this question wrong, man, you're in trouble. And the answer is visual inspection. The first step in diagnosis of any system. I remember once I had, there was a friend's car. I was a adolescent. What was I doing? I was doing landscaping work. This was in New Jersey. And we had a car. We were supposed to get the car running and get the lawnmowers and get to work, right? And this person's car wouldn't start. This was not a good neighborhood, by the way. Okay. So we're all trying to start the car. What the hell's going on with the car? I'm going to get it started. We're opening up the hood. We're trying to figure out the batteries there. This was long before I was a trained, diagnostician. I didn't know anything, right? And so finally we couldn't get the car started. And so somebody else came over. Finally, they got there and they were showing up late, but they had enough wherewithal to get in the car. Look, the car was still in drive. Remember the old stick range selectors for the transmission on the steering column? Okay. Well, the stick was down in drive. And so the key wasn't doing anything. They got in the car, they put the car in park, they started the car, and we were off to work. And I felt like I was retarded. Okay. Like, oh my goodness, it was right there. There it was. I mean, good thing it wasn't a rattlesnake. It would have bit me. That's how close I was to the solution. I just didn't confront it. Now, that sounds really simple. Although when we look at how we deal with people, unflinching. What did he say? Unflinching. Really, and hear between the lines, right? It's not just visual, right? So hearing between the lines, really engaging with people. Do you think this could make you more powerful, persuasive, attractive? Yeah. Whereas the, not so honest person, well, they can't really look. They can't really look. You've seen that in your life too. And this fearlessness is in itself a tower to strength in a man's life, supporting him through all emergencies, enabling him to battle manfully with difficulties, and in the end, securing for him that success of which he cannot be dispossessed. Powerful stuff, guys. Purposefulness is another piece of the pillar. Strong men have strong purposes, and strong purposes lead to strong achievements. Simple enough. The man of integrity is above all men strong, and his strength is manifested in that thoroughness with which he does the business of his life, thoroughness which commands respect, admiration, and success. So not the dilettante, not the person who, I'll try maybe on the weekend, part-time sometime, but you've got a purpose, right? And you're here to fulfill that purpose. Invincibility is the fourth piece of this pillar, which when I was reading this, Bob and everyone, I was thinking, all right, how do I put on some invincibility? I mean, throughout my life, there's lots of times when I've felt invincible, 10 foot tall and bulletproof and all that. Maybe it's the magic vitamins I take, right? But still, you know what it really is? You know what it really is? It's that strong purpose. Because when we're on purpose, we get through all kinds of stuff. When we've got resolve, I think that kind of approaches invincibility. I mean, it doesn't mean you're literally bodily bulletproof, but my goodness, you feel powerful. You feel it. So I interpret him saying invincibility as a psychic state. Okay, so having to do with the mind and spirit. It says here, never to violate, even in the most insignificant particular, the principle of integrity is to be invincible against all the assaults of innuendo, slander, and misrepresentation. It's been said that we live in the age of misinformation, okay? And there have been plenty of people who have been slandered, misrepresented, ridiculed, right? And yet, because of their purpose and because of their integrity, they keep going, and they don't. They're not swayed by the innuendo or ignorance that is, that just goes around. You can see many examples of this in modern times. All right, so I think that was the last thing I highlighted. And yep, that's the end of the chapter. But guys, I'm thinking, wow, 2 chapters a week on this is, I mean, it's a brainful. That's for sure. Who's got some thoughts on this? I know it was a little bit quiet in here, so I've been talking. Who's got some thoughts on this? Janet?
You know, John, that last thing that you just read, I would like you to share that with Trinity
Mm-hmm.
because of her experience.
Right.
And I don't know how you talked with her. Logic doesn't go where feelings do, and her feelings got hurt. And she's still carrying that around, even if you think she's okay.
Mhm.
I think she's still carrying it around. And that came up this morning, you guys. So I just, yeah.
Well, you know
when
what,
you're
Janet, thank you for that. But let me also share this with you, since we're just talking turkey here, right? There are things that she didn't do that she knows she should have done. So her own conscience comes into play as well, which makes her what? Not invincible. So there
Right.
is, that's an example of it right there, though, right? You didn't clean your room. You didn't do well.
Yes, because if somebody says something and it's so not a part of you, it
Mhm.
doesn't touch you. But
Right.
if they said something and yes, it's coming from them and it's their own reflection of something or other, but if it hits a chord, there's something in there that it hit,
Mhm.
right? There's
Right.
some piece of what they said that it's like, oh. So, and
Right.
like I said, logic can't touch it. It's emotion.
Right. Like if you said to me, "Oh, John, you killed the dog or something," I'd think, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. But if I was like, "Oh, how dare you? How dare you?" Now I got to defend my. What's going on with that? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we get touched by truth, even if it's something we don't want to face.
Right.
I just want to share with you somebody on Sunday. I was at a salon, and so confidence is something that I wasn't raised with, and it's a struggle for me. And this guy said, just just think of yourself as face the day as a 4-year-old boy or a 4-year-old with a Batman costume on. That's how you feel when you're invincible, right? You're a superhero. and you can just go at anything.
That's great. Thank you, Janet. Good
I know,
times.
it's
All right,
silly.
everyone, we're all 4 years old and we're all wearing Batman costumes. Missy, Bob,
Can I go back a little bit?
you can do whatever you want.
I may be being a little too simple or taking it too literally, but he said, one of the things I think you highlighted it was, if you have integrity, you can't be touched by loss or something else. And the first thing that came to my mind was Sidney Carton in A Tale of Two Cities. You know, I'm sure everyone's read it at some times, and he looked like, anyway, forget him. He had integrity, so he took the place of another man. It's like Damon and Pythias. He took the place of another man who was slated for death during the French Revolution, because he was trying to make up for his failings in life. And this great sacrifice made up for that. So his integrity brought him to loss and suffering in this life. So how could he say such a thing? When you have integrity, a cop will give his life for a little kid or a mother and a child. So maybe, am I just reading too much simplicity into it? Is my just...
I don't know, but I mean, there's injustice in the world. I mean, we know that. I mean, we could certainly look at, today is St. Valentine's Day, right? So here's somebody who was martyred. That's a big consideration. What do you guys think? I don't claim to
But
have
is
all
he
the
just
answers.
referring to business? Is
Okay.
he just referring to business? Is that what he means? Because I guess I'm taking it too literally. But even in business, you can get mutilated by, if this were 3 years ago and we were having this conversation, it might be a little different because of what has happened to the world. And so I'm thinking that even if you are full of integrity, they can still destroy you and bring you to loss and ruin. And it doesn't mean that you're not full of integrity. It's just that they are not. But I guess inside, they can't ruin you. They can ruin your business. They can close down your bakery. They can close down your store because you won't bake them a cake, whatever. But I don't know, that line just bothered me, I don't know why.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, the end result of all this is not that we just sit around and agree, right? I would say let's work that out, Missy. Let's work that out. I do
Read
know
that line again, Missy, would you? Can you?
I think I have that page open. Hold on. I don't know where it is now. It's
Okay.
later on. Integrity is a lion, treasure. The strong, this is not it, but it's the same thing. The strong armor of his integrity and the bright shields of his righteousness leaves him unharmed and untouched. That's not, that ain't necessary. Anyway, I should have just been quiet because I think I'm taking it to the nth degree, and I don't think that's how he meant it.
All right, well, let's take it to the nth degree then, since we're going there, right? So here's Jesus. Okay, would you say that was impeccable integrity?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here's body death, for what it's worth. Okay, and now here's the entire Christianity. Okay, so which is when we talk about sacrifice, right? What is sacrifice? It's giving up something of a lower nature to gain something of a higher nature. So did Jesus win?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Okay. Case closed.
Okay, thank you. You can always distill it right into the simplest and put a point on it. I love
Well,
that.
we're taking it to the nth degree. Let's hit the friggin' roof with it, right?
Yeah. But
So
it's interesting that you brought up the word sacrifice. And once again, the etymology of sacrifice is to make holy.
What?
right.
That's exactly what it means.
Really?
Yes, it means to make something holy. And we associate sacrifice with giving something up. And as you just said, John, it's because we want something better than what we're giving away that we sacrifice what we're giving away. We improve it. And this goes back to the whole spiel on economy at the first the start of the second chapter. That you get into this upward cycle of exchange. You exchange one thing for another, and on the way you continue to improve. But ultimately, you come to a point where you've got pretty much everything that you have aspired for, but there's always something more. It's kind of interesting. Just by happenstance, before the session tonight, I was reading something that Steve Jobs said. It was supposed to be like on his deathbed. And it's quite inspiring because he talks about, and this goes back to ostentatiousness, that he said, a $30 watch will tell the time just as well as a $300 watch. A basic car will go just as well as a very expensive car. You walk in and you can have the best food, or you can have what satisfies you. You walk out full. But in the end, you do not measure your life by what you have accomplished or what you have acquired. It's he doesn't say it in these words, but the notion is, what have you effectively given to the world? What have you given? And of course, in giving, there is the element of sacrifice. And it's very hard for people to sacrifice that which is closest to themselves. We have to make ourselves vulnerable in order to advance in any way, shape, or form. And I'm going to get a little political here. What have we witnessed over the past year and a half, 2 years? The atomization of society, people turning inward on themselves by force. They've been denied the ability to interact. Now, this is nice, what we're doing here. It's nice to see faces, it's nice to hear voices, but it's not the same. Human interaction has come to pretty much a standstill, and society is the poorer for it.
Well, you're welcome to fly down to Florida tomorrow if you want. I got a car. We could put you up right here in the office. It'd be great.
The state of New York won't let me on a plane.
Oh my goodness. My goodness.
Well, but you know what, but this, because of that, we have this. We wouldn't be here but for that. And this mastermind teaches us to be vulnerable in the right way, not to lay yourself open to harm, to strengthen your mind, to strengthen yourself. And I don't know if I would be alive without this person sitting in that chair over there. I'm not so sure. Had I not met him last June. And I was very, very close to the edge. And, if I hadn't been enclosed in this house, and I made the effort to make myself come alive, and somehow, met John Lavenia. And so in that way, I'm grateful for COVID. And Lindsay and Janet and Catherine and Stuart and Scott and everybody, and Virginia and Ivier and Adrian. I mean, this is the most remarkable group of people. And Bob and Shannon, I met for 1 second. I know I'm going to meet her soon. And it's just, it is one of the greatest things that has ever happened in my life.
Wow.
And
So,
Yeah, I just have one parting thought, and it just occurred to me after I spoke before. The notion of vulnerability is pretty much opposed to the notion of invincibility. But because you have integrity, you have that invincibility, which makes you willing to be vulnerable.
that's right. Listen,
Right.
John lays his life out for us. He doesn't hide,
So-
when he was a kid in New Jersey.
So, yeah, integrity is something. No, it's everything.
everything, baby. Woo! Great title for a book. Somebody should write that.
Shameless plug, brought to you by the paying members of the John Lavenia.
Go buy 100 copies right now. Thank you, Missy and Bob. Thank you. I was looking at the etymology and derivation of sacrifice, and yes, sacred, right? So now, of course, in modern parlance, people use it all kinds of different ways, but Bob's exactly right. That's where that word comes from. All right, guys. Lindsay, Catherine, Jana, we got some hot mics here. Anybody got some closing thoughts?
I went ahead. I thought I missed something. I thought it was we were finishing the book. So I went way ahead. But no, there was so much great information in here. But there was something, and we'll get to it, but that stuck out to me was the impartiality part of it. And about how to remove your egotism. And what he said was the barrier to attainment of knowledge of someone with ego shuts himself off to the solitary of his own mind. And I thought, wow. I mean, I know that's jumping way ahead.
You're
But it's
already on the
something-
7th pillar. We just got
Yeah.
through 3.
I know, but I was just on a roll then, but it really all ties together.
Sure.
I mean, it does, because when you've got, your invincibility, I think me and Missy were talking about that earlier, people can be invincible, to a degree, if there's a car on your kid, you can pick the fight or flight. You're invincible. You can pick, you have, I don't know, there's just so much we are capable of that we are so blinded by, I don't know, taking the kid out of us. And that's huge to me. So I said, I may grow up, or I may have grown up, but I still, if you're going to see somebody like a kid, just, I don't mind doing that. Because kids can do anything. They'll do, I don't know. It just, this whole book has been really on point.
Good stuff. Thank you, Lindsay. We'll get to impartiality in two more weeks, I think. Right. Good times. Anybody else? Last call? Anybody?
Yeah, it did. It kind of made me question a lot. Just when he linked integrity with fearlessness and invincibility, that it made me really stop and question, do I have integrity? I'm certainly not fearless, and I'm definitely not invincible. And how often does fear impact my purpose? So it just really made me stop and think, because, I don't know. I think it's something I need to work on. So I liked this one because of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, I need to work on it too. Right.
Yeah, I think definitely things always along the way reflect back. Am I really being, this way, or do I have things to work on that will make me stronger, more invincible? Yeah. But a lot of it is how we think. And, I don't think it means invincibility of flesh. We get sick, we can get hit by a car, we will die someday. But I think it has to do with spirit, and I am strong. And, what was I raised with? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never harm me, right? But, if I am living fully honestly and in integrity, say what you want to say, I know who I am. And I'm strong in knowing who I am. Not that I don't falter, but the more I say, oh, got to fix, I don't want to say fix that, but, oh, there's a place where I need to be a little stronger, need to build that up a little bit more. But it's your spirit, it's your soul, it's the core of you, not the outside details, I think.
Right.
I
Thank
think
you, Janet.
we all have to, I think that's with everybody, because a lot of times I would have been rather hit with sticks and stones. I would have just throw this at me. I don't care. Just don't
Right.
say it. Yes, I mean, I think that's where we all need to grow. Because my dad used to say that. I'd be like, I would rather be hit with sticks and stones. But it's a mindset thing too, where do you really care what somebody who is still sitting there reminiscing the good old days back 20, 30 years ago? Do you really care what they think? I don't. Everybody thinks they look at me like I've got 3 heads. I'm like, yep, I'm not normal, but thankfully I'm not.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah. How many times, in growing up, oh, what will the neighbors think? I don't really
never
care.
what they thought.
I mean, I know John says, well, they're not even thinking, but I don't care, because I'm doing what I feel is right and what's right in me. And if I'm going to live my life for everybody else, then I'm not living my life. They don't know me. They don't know what drives me. They don't know, so why should they? First of all, sitting in judgment is no, thank you. But why should they sit in judgment to me when they don't know me? They don't know my spirit. They don't know what I'm about. They're just
perfect?
looking from the outside. I'm sorry, Lindsay, I didn't hear
Are
you.
they perfect? Who are they to judge? And that's one thing.
Well, even if they were, you know what? If they were perfect, they wouldn't be judging. That's part of an imperfect person.
That's true. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Very good, guys. Well, thank you for being here with us. We went over an hour. I think it was well worth it. We'll be back here next week with 2 more pillars.
Okay, 2 more. Okay, I got
2
this.
more. You can read them all like 100 times and say you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And you're kicking ass in life. So keep doing what you're doing. So do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll see you guys again real soon. All right. Make it a great day.